Tonight, you are going to eat something out of a box. It will take 90 seconds to prepare. It will taste like sugar, salt, and almost nothing else. And somewhere in your brain, a very old voice is going to whisper that this is exactly what it wanted. But here is the strange part. That voice is not lying to you about wanting food. It is lying to you about what food actually is. For most of human history, nobody ate anything like what's in your kitchen right now. Your ancestors didn't have cereal. They didn't have bread, in the way you know it. They didn't even have 3 meals a day. So what did they actually eat? The real answer is far stranger than meat or berries. It's a story about famine, fat, insects, and a diet so varied that calling it a diet at all is almost a category error. Start with the image most people carry around. A caveman gripping a club, dragging a dead mammoth back to a fire. Steak for dinner, every night, forever. This is the picture diet books love to sell you. It is also mostly wrong. Anthropologist Richard Wrangham, who has spent decades studying early human diets at Harvard, found something the mammoth steak story conveniently skips. Big game was rare. Hunting large animals successfully, with Stone Age tools, was difficult, dangerous, and often failed. A hunting party could walk for days and come home with nothing. Meat was not the steady backbone of the human diet. It was a jackpot. An occasional, glorious, unreliable jackpot. So what filled the other days? Plants, roots, tubers, insects, shellfish when near water. Whatever was in season, whatever was nearby, whatever didn't require a spear and a miracle. Here's where it gets interesting. Wrangham's research points to something even more foundational than what early humans ate. How they ate it. Cooking. Fire didn't just make food taste better, it made food digestible in a completely new way. Cooked starches and proteins release far more usable energy than raw ones. Your gut doesn't have to work as hard. Your brain, which burns through enormous amounts of energy, finally had a stable enough fuel supply to grow. Think about that for a second. The device you're using right now, the one capable of reading this sentence and forming opinions about it, may exist partly because someone, 500,000 years ago, figured out how to keep a flame alive long enough to char a root. Hunger, back then, wasn't a notification on your phone reminding you it's lunchtime. Hunger was the default state. Food was inconsistent. Some seasons were abundant. Others were brutal. And this inconsistency shaped something that still lives inside you today. Here's a question. Why do you crave sugar and fat so intensely, even when you know, rationally, that you don't need it? The answer traces back to scarcity. In an environment where the next meal was never guaranteed, a brain that screamed, "Eat the high-calorie thing now," was a brain that survived winter. Researcher Daniel Lieberman, an evolutionary biologist at Harvard who has spent his career studying how the human body evolved to handle stress, movement, and food, describes this as a mismatch. Your cravings were built for scarcity. You live in abundance. The wiring didn't get the memo. That craving for a sugary snack at 9 p.m. isn't weakness. It's an ancient survival instinct firing exactly as designed in a world that no longer matches the one it was designed for. Now here's the twist almost nobody talks about. Insects. Entomophagy, the practice of eating insects, was not a fringe survival tactic for early humans. It was, for long stretches of prehistory, and in many regions, a completely normal, reliable food source. Termites, grubs, locusts, high in protein, high in fat, and critically, far easier to find than a herd of antelope. Some researchers studying primate and early hominin diets, including work building on Wrangham's broader findings, suggest insects may have made up a meaningful portion of caloric intake in certain environments, particularly for early hominins before large-scale hunting strategies developed. Sit with that. The food your modern brain finds most repulsive may have once been one of the most dependable items on the ancient menu. There's another piece of this that reshapes the whole picture. Variety. A modern diet, even a balanced one, is shockingly narrow compared to what early humans ate. Wheat, rice, corn, and soy make up a staggering percentage of global caloric intake today. Just 4 plants. Early human diets, by contrast, often included dozens, sometimes over 100 different plant and animal species across a single year, depending on season and region. Different roots in spring, different fruits in summer, different nuts in autumn, whatever the migrating herds left behind in winter. This wasn't a wellness choice, it was necessity, and it produced something modern nutrition science is still trying to fully replicate, a gut microbiome shaped by extraordinary dietary diversity. So why does this matter to you? Scrolling through this video on a couch, nowhere near a savanna or an ice age? Because your body hasn't caught up. Your taste receptors still light up hardest for fat and sugar. Your gut still expects variety it rarely gets. Your hunger signals still operate on a famine-era survival script, even though you've never actually experienced a famine. The mismatch between the environment your biology was built for and the environment you actually live in is not an abstract concept. It's the reason a bag of chips feels harder to put down than a bowl of lentils. There's something almost humbling in this. The primal diet trend that promises a return to ancestral eating often imagines a much simpler, much more meat-heavy past than the evidence actually supports. The real ancestral diet wasn't a fixed menu. It was constant improvisation. It was eating termites in one season and wild greens in another, and, on a lucky day, a feast of fresh meat that the whole group gathered around like a holiday. Maybe that's the part worth carrying with you. Not a specific food list, not a rule book, but the instinct underneath it. Adaptability. Early humans survived not because they found the one perfect food, but because they were willing to eat almost anything that kept them alive. And because fire turned whatever they found into something their bodies could actually use. Your ancestors weren't eating clean. They weren't eating paleo or keto or any neatly branded plan. They were eating whatever the land offered, prepared however fire allowed, shaped by hunger that never fully went away. And tonight, when you reach for something out of a box, 90 seconds to prepare, tasting mostly of sugar and salt, that old voice in your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it was built to do, in a world that, for the first time in human history, never runs out.